The question now of promulgating decrees, you have to go through the crucible, which is why this introduction, that's meeting with them, is particularly useful. But today our focus will be on the lawmakers who will make the 8th Assembly. My name is Kingsley Osadolo, and I join Claire in welcoming you to the program, Good Morning Nigeria, which is reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. And the course of the program, Claire, we're going to have our regular segments.
The usual studio discussion. We have our guests all coming up this morning. And of course, business, sports and entertainment will be featuring on today's program. We'll also be looking at reviewing the newspaper. Baya Toyebe will be joining us much later on in the program. But right now, it's time for the morning news. And Hawa Salihu Adama is joined us in the newsroom. Hawa, we hand over the baton to you.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning, Nigerian. Thanks for joining us on the news segment. 2 new private universities have been approved by the federal government as the Federal Executive Council warns the incoming administration from running a parallel government. These are some of the decisions taken by the council at its sitting Wednesday.
In council, we had NUC to give reason why they think the universities, these 2 universities merit being approved.
Meanwhile, the Federal Executive Council says the suspension of the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is due to the poor management of diplomacy as full-scale investigation into the matter has commenced. The Council disclosed this shortly after discussing the recall of Nigeria's envoy to South Africa by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, over xenophobic attacks.
President's revelation that our presidents and President Zuma of South Africa, they are talking, they are in talking terms, and the various nagging issues that give a semblance of fiscal between the 2 nations has been resolved.
Beginning with the phone call to the King of Morocco, or no phone call. And I think it is in line with that the president has now welded the big stick.
2 new federal commissioners have been appointed by President Goodluck Jonathan as his administration winds to a close to fill vacancies in the Federal Civil Service Commission and the Federal Character Commission. Those sworn in are Ambassador Tui Olafi Tui from Ekiti State as Commissioner of Federal Civil Service Commission and Ambassador Abdullahi Shinkafi from Zamfara State as Commissioner, Federal Character Commission. President Jonathan described the commissions as critical to the stability of the country, but expressed reservation on the Federal Character Commission's inactivity over the years.
The Federal Character Commission really need to wake up and make themselves relevant to this country. I think the civil service has, for some time now, they have improved significantly in terms of the way they handle things, and a number of people are quite pleased. I believe the same thing will go for the Federal Character Commission very soon.
And still on appointments, President Goodluck Jonathan has approved the appointment of Alhaji Sanusi Lamido Ado Bayero as Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority. Alhaji Sanusi, a lawyer from Kano State, takes over from Malam Habib Abdullahi, who has been relieved of his appointment. The appointment takes effect from today, April 13th. And a 19-member transition committee has been formally inaugurated by Nigeria's President-elect, General Muhammadu Buhari. The transition committee has Ahmed Joda as chairman, while Dr. Doyin Salami is to serve as secretary. The mandate of the committee, whose membership is drawn from the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, include liaison with a similar committee set up by the federal government, as well as study handover notes preparatory to the May 29th handover date. General Muhammadu Buhari says the committee is not aimed at witch hunting anybody.
From one government to another always involves complicated operational challenges. We all know that government is a continuum. But the incoming government needs to know where the previous government stopped so that it can know where to continue. Luckily, you are all outstanding men and women of competence and experience in different fields, so that this assignment, wondrous though it is well within your ability to accomplish. You are required to assess the information provided to you and advise me on its quality and accuracy.
The terms are very wide. The main one being that we should receive a presentation from the outgoing government, study them, and discuss them and make our recommendations to the incoming government.
And the President-elect, General Muhammadu Buhari, has solicited the support of the incoming members of the National Assembly to be on the battlefront with him as worries of change in the task of bringing integrity into governance. General Buhari, who addressed the members as part of the induction program, enumerated the challenges of insecurity, endemic corruption, poor power supply, joblessness, and environmental as issues that will drive his administration.
To invite you to work with the executive as partners in progress, as champions of good governance and development, and as warriors for change. Together, we can make this nation great, and as a role model in Africa and other emerging economies and democracies.
It is a historic day in the journey of democracy in this country. Historic in the sense that it is the first time a president-elect is addressing senators and members-elect.
What we have seen today is a sign that we are on the path of hope with a rekindled optimism. And there is every indication that light has come to the end of the tunnel.
I believe that the ITA everything humanly possible to cooperate with him to drive this nation to prosperity.
And in a similar development, newly elected senators and members of the National Assembly to be inaugurated in June have been speaking on the leadership, their desire and composition of the 8th National Assembly. The legislators-elect observed that the new leadership should reflect experience, geographical, professional capacity, and Nigeria's geographical spread.
Done so much over the years in appointed positions and elected positions. All these, I think, should be part of the considerations.
I'm not saying that we are here to look for position, but we are only here to contribute.
He must understand the process of preparing bills which metamorphose eventually into acts of parliament.
To make the National Assembly productive and active is actually the efficiency and effectiveness of its committees.
The National Assembly uses committees as fulcrum of its operations. Where the committees are weak, that means the institution of legislature is weak.
The standing rules of both House, Senate and House, the list of the committees are there, their jurisdiction is written here, their functions are written here. Sometimes the presiding officer is guided by the functions and jurisdiction of each of the committees.
And still on the legislature, an international summit on enhancing legislation for the effective implementation of environmental impact assessment in West Africa has opened in Abuja. The summit was at the instance of the House Committee on Environment.
And will be checkmated, regulated.
While the EIA Act in Nigeria has been a useful tool, we believe that a lot more could be achieved with enhancement of the existing legislation to tackle some of the challenges that have been encountered in its implementation.
We have to protect the environment because the environment is dear to us, is key in the development of every nation. And when the environment is abused and ignored, then a lot of issues, come up.
To security now, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arese, has unveiled a 5-point strategic plan to dignity and public confidence in the police. The acting IG revealed this at the inaugural meeting with Assistant Inspectors General and State Commissioners of Police at the force headquarters.
It is now a matter of choice. For the serving police officer, a choice between national service, which should be duly rewarded, and corruption, which should be swiftly sanctioned. In launching the MPF into a technological-driven policing world, emphasis will be on crime scene management, establishment of state-of-the-art national forensic support centers. Any nation desirous of justice owes its magistrate judges and justices the sacred obligation of protection.
Respite is coming the way of commercial motor operators and road travelers as government moves to secure parks. This was at a one-day workshop on security, consciousness and awareness for road transport owners and workers held in Abuja.
As the measure of nationhood lies greatly in the ability of its citizens to solve the security challenges by itself. This workshop is one of the series of initiatives evolved by the federal government in its bid to ensure that all government officials and members of the general public become more security conscious.
The brains that would go and then teach them down the grassroots.
Members of the organized labor comprising the Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress have urged all workers to participate in the 2015 Workers' Day celebration scheduled to hold on May the 1st across the country. Major issues to be put before the government is the need for the review of the national minimum wage.
You can imagine we have some states in this country that have not paid salaries since October, and this is April. So you don't have any justification to celebrate such governors. If you take a look at the level of the depreciation of our currency, you find that the 18,000 minimum wage is no longer anything to write home about. If you do arithmetical calculation, maybe the 18,000 will just be less than 3,000 of what it used to be when we negotiated the minimum wage some years back. There is no way we can accept a situation where somebody will say it's cutting worker salaries when his own salary is intact.
And that report runs off the news segment. It's now back to Claire and Kingsley for the continuation of the program. But in the meantime, Claire, do you intend to be at the Eagle Square tomorrow, being May the 1st?
Well, tomorrow is Friday. I have to be here, but of course, we will do the job. We will have to also do, do our responsibilities. But of course, in spirit, we will be with the workers. It's all Workers' Day, and so everyone is included in this celebration.
Yeah, that's correct, Claire. That's, well, some of us are on essential services, so they will not be available at the Eagle Square or elsewhere where there will be parades.
I'm sure Hawa also will be here, right here in the studios, contributing her own quota.
Maybe move to the east from here.
All right, we wish you the best of luck. Let's talk business now. Nigeria sets modality of International Public Sector Accounting Standard, IPSAS, by January. Plus, you need to partner with Nigeria to meet the trade practices. And the Nigerian Stock Exchange maintains a slide. It sheds 0.23%. Here is Leah Katumba Batune.
Hello and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria Business News. Now, Nigeria has launched the International Public Accounting Standards IPSAS Accrual Accounting Manual for full-scale implementation in public sector entities in the country. The accounting standards will apply to all tiers of government starting from 1st January of 2016 to present a complete, true and fair view of accounting and promote transparency and accountability in financial reporting for public sector entities. The Accountant General of the Federation, Jonah Otunla, said if government is run transparently where probity and accountability is ensured, the benefit to the common man on the street is that government activities are conducted in a manner he or she will be part of. He said it will also put caution on the side to ensure purpose for which they are meant for.
Said stand are recognized. It means if you pick a financial statement of any type of government in Nigeria, you'll be able to compare it to financial statement of any other government in the world, and then it calls for what we call comparability of statements.
IPSAS seeks to improve the quality of general-purpose financial reporting by public sector entities, leading to better informed assessments of the resource government, thereby increasing transparency and accountability.
This is an initiative of the Federation Allocation Accounts Committee, so it's not a totally new thing. But of course, this is a higher level with a little bit of complications that requires a lot of awareness to be built.
So the accounts of the states and that of the federal government, as at year ended 31st December 2014, are based on a cash basis IPSAS.
IPSAS represents a set of internationally recognized standards that clearly delineate recognition, measurement, presentation, and disclosure requirements for public sector organizations. African products would enjoy a boost in the global market with an improvement in the level of intra-Africa transactions and communication, coupled with the promotion, integration, and transparency across the region. The United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, to this end is working with Nigeria to boost its productivity and economic indices. UNIDO country representative Patrick Kurmawa said the agency is working to boost Nigeria's trade sector through the provision, facilitation, and implementation of global standards in the wake of Nigeria's quest to diversify the economy and improve standards.
We are not only setting up a quality infrastructure, the main objective is to improve Nigeria's trade. So it is the infrastructure is to support the trade of Nigerian products, those made in Nigeria, those grown in Nigeria, and those produced in Nigeria.
Standards development will increase productivity and service competitiveness towards sustainable industrial growth and development.
We improve on your productivity in Nigeria, we link you up to a market, and we improve the quality of your product to meet the international standard. That is the linkage.
The United Nations Industrial Development Organization, established in 1996, is a specialized agency of the United Nations since 1985. Its mandate is to promote sustainable industrial development in developing countries and economies in transition conditions in the world's poorest countries by drawing on its combined global resources and expertise. It focuses on three main areas: poverty reduction through productive activities, trade capacity building, as well as energy and environment. Next is a graphic summary of activities from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Good morning, Nigeria would continue in a moment. My name is Leah Katun Babatunde.
Thank you very much there, Leah, for the business package. And now it's time for us to review the headlines in today's newspapers.
All right, and Bayo Tobe has just joined us here in the studio to do his bit this morning. Good morning, Bayo.
Good morning, Claire.
All right.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Kingsley.
That's right. We'll begin our review this morning with the Guardian newspaper. And the Guardian has as its lead story, I am not on witch hunt, says Buhari. And there are two riders to that. Wait until you are sworn in, Jonathan replies. President-elect inaugurates 19-member transition committee and solicits cooperation of lawmakers. Now, also on the front page of The Guardian, Jonathan fires NPA boss, hires Bayero. Story is in greater detail on page 4. Roadblocks remain banned, IGP insists. That's in greater detail also on page 5. And civil society groups decry National Assembly's refusal to disclose own budget details. Now, on the front page as well, that's the second lead story of The Guardian. PDP governors ask Muazu and others to resign. Reps caucus urges APC to tolerate opposing views. And 3 news notes there on the front page. Fuel queues to end soon as marketers get 156 billion naira today. And NMA seeks end to foreign medical trips, and Indonesian executions spark international anger. Claire. Okay, leadership leads with the story. Don't create parallel government, FEC, that's fake, tells Buhari. And it has the rider there. The incoming government should avoid creating a parallel government. The magnanimity of Mr. President should not be taken for cowardice. Details you can find on page 5. That's the lead story. And just below the masthead, you find Dangote to list on London Stock Exchange. And below that, fuel scarcity, FG to pay marketers 156 billion naira today. Trending at the bottom, on the front page there, President fires NPA boss, appoints Lamido Adobayero. Paper for us is Daily Trust. Daily Trust also has as its lead story the headline, "Don't run parallel government. Federal government tells Buhari." And a writer there says, President-elect gives transition committee 2 weeks. Now, above that and just below the name flag, there are 2 other stories. ROMAFC tells federal government not to sell stake in joint oil ventures. That's the Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission tells federal government not to sell stake in joint oil ventures. On page 8, but promoted on the front page, Dakingeri gets notice of impeachment. Dakingeri is the governor of Kebbi State. He lost the election to the Senate on the 28th of March. Now, also on the front page of Daily Trust, new FCT traffic lights go up 861 million. That's according to the minister. That's on page 3. And federal government paying marketers 156 billion naira today is also there. And then PDP governors insist Muazu and others must go. Claire. All right, Newswatch Times has the lead story, Buhari unfolds 10-point agenda, and it writes with inaugurates 19-man transition committee on page 4. I wasn't consulted on AIT ban. You can find that on page 3. And the picture story is the picture of President-elect General Muhammadu Buhari and Senate President David Mark, Speaker/Governor-elect Sokoto State Honorable Aminu Tambuwal, and of course other members of the National Assembly there on arrival of the venue of induction of members in Abuja yesterday. Will pay oil marketers 156 billion naira subsidy claims today. Okunjoy Wiala shows fuel shortage spreads to Oyo. And at the bottom there, PDP governors Muazu trade blames as forum insists ESCO must quit. You can find details on page 4. And just above the masthead, you find military moves rescued girls to medical facility for treatment. Details on page 4. Vanguard is next for us. And Vanguard also has the payment to fuel marketers. But the lead story says Jonathan and Buhari's men clash. And 3 riders to that. Buhari's men acting like parallel government. That's according to the federal government. And says President-elect's team making impossible demands. And notes magnanimity shouldn't be seen as cowardice. Claire read that earlier from one of the papers. Also on the front page there, I'm not aware of ban on AIT. That's according to Buhari. And the story is in greater detail on page 8. Unilag gives automatic employment to two best graduates, and that's on page 14. And a special report there says Senate and House leadership contests, tension in APC as Dogara gathers momentum. Claire, let me quickly take the National Mirror. National Mirror also on this front page has the following stories. MFAC cautions against sale of equity in joint ventures. Lead story says fuel scarcity as its kicker. The payment, the one we also read earlier from the other papers. Now, again, IGP bans roadblocks, says they are point of corruption. That's on page 41. And Jonathan Sachs, NPAMD, appoints Lamido Sanusi. That's also on the front page. Joda, Amechi, Oyegun, David West, others make Buhari's transition lists. And Jonathan warns president-elect against parallel government. Also there, but in greater detail on page 4, is a headline, PDP governors plot national chairman NWC's sack. Claire,
okay, I'm sure you have...
yeah, I have two other papers. There's Business Day. We have Business Day. We also have The Sun. But let's go to The Sun very quickly. Now, The Sun on its front page, there's an earpiece there just beside the name flag. Labour leaders praise Obiano on workers' welfare. Obiano is the governor of Anambra State. We'll fight Buhari. That's the lead story for Daily Sun. And two writers to that. NLC, TUC declare war over fuel subsidy. And FG begins payment to independent marketers. Also there, Jonathan spits fire, once president-elect against parallel government. Don't mistake my magnanimity for cowardice. We read that earlier as well. PDP governors also planning to sack Moazu. And rescued females, not Chibok girls. That's according to the military. And the story is there on page 10 in greater detail. And also on page 13 is Enugu governorship, Ugwanye's victory, an act of God. That's according to Khan. Claire, you have one last one before I go on to
the blueprint. And the blueprint leads with the story, FG moves to end fuel scarcity, pays oil marketers 156 billion naira today, details on page 6. And just a little below the masthead, you find the caption there. Cooperate with me, Buhari tells 8th National Assembly. The details are on page 6. The picture story you find there is that of the Comptroller General, Nigeria Customs, as well as the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy during the 20th Conference of Directors General of Customs that took place in Abuja yesterday. Just coming down below the lead story, don't form parallel government, Jonathan tells Buhari. We read that out. It's a front page story coming on all the papers this morning. I'm not afraid of probe, FCT Minister, page 4. And Sanusi Ado Bayero, now NPA MD, page 10.
Well, Business Day, let's go to the inside pages of Business Day. Page 4 of Business Day, which we have here. 2015 budget. Organized labor kicks against fuel subsidy removal. That's on page 4 of Business Day. And also on page 6, there are two stories we've taken from that page. Page 6 of Business Day. Ben Bruce and Melaye champion slash in legislature's jumbo pay. That's on page 6. And then on that page, Dangote's coastal pipeline venture aims to crack Nigeria's gas quagmire. These are the stories inside, of course. Business Day is a specialized business publication, and there are other interesting business stories inside the paper. Bayo, I haven't checked out some of the foreign news pages, but obviously we don't have them on the front page. Today is the 30th of April, and it marks the 40th anniversary of the end of the war in Vietnam, when the communist Viet Cong defeated the Americans. That marked the fall of what was then called Saigon, is now known as Ho Chi Minh. It was America's worst defeat after the Second World War, the American century. 40 years after the fall of Saigon and the sacking of the U.S. forces from Vietnam. It's not on the front page here today.
Yes. On the international scene, one human interest story that has been very prominent is the rescue of a 4-month-old baby from the rubbles in the earthquake that devastated Nepal. After 22 hours, in fact, initially the baby was missed, and later on they had the baby's cry, and the baby was rescued alive. Well, meanwhile, back home here, Governor Kashim Shettima says the rescue of 200 girls and 93 women is gratifying. He commended the armed forces, and he says that the lives, safety, and welfare of all citizens of Borno are of great equal importance. They are daughters, sisters, and perhaps mothers whose lives are important to their loved ones, to me as governor, and to all. We are also particular about Chibok girls because of the circumstances of their kidnapping in the school and the symbolism that the perpetrators of that act are opposed to education and particularly female education. So the entire world is concerned so that the ideology of the insurgents will not thrive. Governor Shetima says there is optimism and we should be prayerful and be supportive of the military. We won't give up on the Chibok girls. No safe parent will give up on a missing child. A spokesman for the Chibok community, Dr. Allen Menasse, says that the rescue of 200 girls and 93 women clears any doubt about the abduction of Chibok girls. It has given people of Chibok hope and that Chibok girls too will be rescued one day. Meanwhile, the rescued 200 girls and 93 women are to undergo medical attention. It is said that they are supposed to be subjected to HIV tests, pregnancy tests, and in fact, 7 of them sustained bullet wounds and are to be treated. This is necessary because of the trauma they have undergone. There have been discordant tunes, and in fact, it is even reflected in the headlines that we have read. And this is based on the apparent conflict between the transition committees of the Jonathan administration and the incoming transition committee of the president-elect. Following this, after the Federal Executive Council yesterday, the Minister for National Planning, Abubakar Suleiman, briefed that some of the terms of reference of the president-elect members are objectionable and they create an impression of stampeding and intimidating administration. Council has frowned at provocative statements and advised that the terms of reference as formulated by the transition committee should be strictly adhered to. He says that whatever the outcome of elections, the current administration remains resolute on its program until May 29. What is important is national interest, Nigeria's national interest. Meanwhile, a 10-point program has been unveiled as the mission of the administration of the president-elect. General Muhammadu Buhari identified general insecurity, insurgency, environmental degradation, concern for corruption, decline of oil revenue, unemployment, and poor electricity supply, as well as poor health and educational infrastructure are some of the items. He says that these are some of the things that will be tackled by his administration. The president-elect has also appointed and inaugurated a 19 committee. The committee is headed by Ahmed Joda and has Dr. Duin Salami as his vice. Adamu is the secretary to that committee. Meanwhile, hate campaign, human rights activists have advised that hate campaigns as required by law. Barrister Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, says such can be prosecuted because they are a violation of the Electoral Act. Meanwhile, Chief Mora Ekono says broadcasts don't have the legal peg of a ban and they should not be subjected to any ban. Rather, they should be subjected to the process of law but through the process of defamation. Richard Akinola also said that rather than the wrong step of banning, regulatory bodies ought to be allowed to demand and deal with violations that have crossed the red lines of journalism. Meanwhile, the president-elect has declared that he was not aware and he didn't direct any ban of any media organizations. He says that he read about that ban in the papers as everybody else, and he has therefore cautioned that such will not be tolerated. He has instructed his aides, including security team, to stay clear of all media activities and allowed those assigned to handle their colleagues. There is this story that was read about Kebbi State giving an impeachment notice to the governor. This is on the heels of an impeachment of the former Speaker of the Kebbi State House of Assembly. And well, he was also replaced by the Speaker who was impeached in December 2014. They have now listed a 6th count of violation of the Constitution against Governor Dakingari. The Punch has published a rejoinder, and that rejoinder is to the fact that the removal of the Inspector General of Police, Suleiman Abba, is illegal, unconstitutional, as it violates Section 2162 of the 1999 Constitution. Section 2162 says, before making any appointment to the office of the Inspector General of Police or removing him from office, the President shall consult the Nigerian Police Council. The rejoinder sent by Fagwongbe Oluwamayomi says that from all intents and purposes, the council, whose members include 36 governors of the Federation, were not consulted by the presidency. And therefore, this issue needs to be addressed, and so that we will put ourselves as a nation in the straight path of the rule of law. Working for Buhari, a 45-year-old man, Adamu Abdullahi, is to leave Maiduguri this morning on a walking trip from Maiduguri to Abuja.
How is he coming? Is he coming through some Bisa forest?
I'm not too sure, but however, he is to take for park, and he had given notice and he's ready to convey petitions and requests to General Buhari on behalf of others. Similarly, Abubakar Duduwale is to set off from last Saturday from Yola. He took off at the Yola gate at 6:30 and is also heading towards Abuja as a means of expressing his joy. From Kaduna, we reported the other day that Mohammed Kabiru Jafar is riding a bicycle, and his mission is to go to Lagos and thank the Yorubas for voting and ensuring that General Buhari was elected.
Are we keeping track of his journey? Where is he at this moment?
Well, the essence of reviewing is to make sure that people know, and then we keep track of their movement across the towns. However, there is also a fourth one. This time, 4 men are jogging from Owerri to Olu to celebrate the victory of Governor Rochas Okorocha.
Well, that's fine. Maybe what we haven't seen yet is somebody to swim from the Niger Delta, perhaps up to some point at Lokoja, and then from there walk to Abuja to meet the president.
I would like to see him from
I'm told to round off this.
Yes, maybe we look at it from the cardinal perspective. Maiduguri to Abuja, Lagos to Abuja. Let's see Sokoto from Abuja, and maybe Calabar to Abuja too.
No, they should swim. That's
well, like we said earlier on, it's the thought, the spirit behind
the spirit behind it, and an exhibition of the democratic atmosphere that we have.
Yeah. All right, provided it is genuine. Yeah. That's the catch. That's the caveat.
Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Workers' Day, and like Hawa asked earlier on, where will you be? I know you will be here. After here, where will you be? Will you go for the rally?
Well, I'm no longer a worker, I'm a pensioner. But the workers certainly have my sympathy. All
right, Bayo, thank you very much. So let's move on now. And barely 1 month from now, the members-elect of the 8th National Assembly will be inaugurated. To facilitate their constitutional duty, an induction course was put together for them to empower the members-elect with modalities of legislative business. Now, with the high turnover of new legislators in the forthcoming National Assembly, what is the enormity of the task ahead of them? This is the thrust of Salihu Abdullahi's background report.
May 29 beckons, a day etched deep in the annals of Nigeria's history. It signals the end of a dispensation and the beginning of another democratic journey. As Nigerians await the takeover of another government come May 29 on the executive arm, so also they expect the emergence of the 8th National Assembly. Like every other remnant of the last administration, the tenure of the 7th National Assembly is expected to expire come May 29. The desired change that is being clamored is expected to reflect across all arms of government, including the legislature, who, like others, has a critical role in building a vibrant democratic society. The elections have been conducted. The people have spoken. 79 out of the 109 senators of the 7th National Assembly will not be working the red chambers. In the green chambers, the number of those who failed to return is 229 out of the 360 members. The 8th National Assembly will be dominated by new members. This development, as observed by stakeholders, may slow down the legislative process. For instance, Senate President David Mark, at the induction course for newly elected members, said, and I quote, "Obviously, when people are new to a system, it takes time for them to adjust and learn the procedures. It is even going to take time for them to even find their ways around the National Assembly building itself. End of quote. Already, the task is enormous as the elected president, through his body language, seems to plan his activities to tackle some challenging needs like fighting corruption, insecurity, and creating more jobs.
To ensure that all money missing from day one, from 1960 to date, are probed.
In this section, that we are going to make it for the people.
Both the red and green chambers are expected to align with the proposal of the executive in this regard, an indication that as new as most of the lawmakers are, so shall their input.
This president that is coming is a well-known president. He was the president of this country and he held so many positions in this country. We Nigerians, we can predict and then we can assume certain impact that he will make into this country. And that impact that we expect should be also viewed by the National Assembly to carry his objectives and his plans along the way.
Nigerians are of the opinion that they expect nothing less from the 8th National Assembly than focus and purposeful conduct to justify the mandate given to them by Nigerians.
Okay, thank you very much there for that backgrounder, which of course provides the pad for us to commence our conversation this morning. And we have joining us in the Abuja studios now, Senator Eyinaya Abaribe. Senator Abaribe, of course, is the chair of the Senate Committee on Information and Media. Two-time senator and former deputy governor of Abia State. Distinguished Senator Abaribe, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we also have with us a senator-elect from Oyo State. Wait for it. His name is Dr. Buhari, not Muhammadu Buhari. Dr. Buhari Abdul Fatai. Dr. Buhari Abdul Fatai, Senator-elect Oyo State. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Very much.
Kingsley, we now go to Jos when we are being joined by General John Temlong. He was a member of the 2014 National Conference. General Temlong, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Claire, and good morning, Nigerians. Thank you.
Come back here in Abuja and starting off, of course, with the two-time senator and former deputy governor, Senator Abaribe. Senator Abaribe, you have been there for quite a while, and you are experienced. Now, the incoming National Assembly, will be constituted by mostly new senators. Over 70% of the old ones might not return. What impact do you think this will have, on the 8th Assembly and, of course, on governance?
Well, obviously, the fact that there are a lot of people who are coming into the National Assembly for the first time will have an impact.
Sorry, I would have to interrupt you a bit. We'll get back to you. We'll just take a quick short break, and when we come back, we will be answering.
Hello, I'm Frank, and this is our Kemu story.
We sold all of our old baby stuff on the internet with Kemu.com.
It took just 5 minutes to get started, and it's like me.
This come from all around the neighborhood.
We got rid of everything, and with the profits, I can get all the new stuff we
Already
need.
ahead of you. I've just been shopping.
Start your business today. It's that easy. Kemu.com.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
All right, welcome back. Actually, Senator Baribe didn't have his microphone on earlier on, so we had to take that break to adjust that. Senator, we thank you. Please go ahead with the response.
Yeah, like I was saying, obviously, there will be a period of learning for the new senators who are coming in. For those of us who have seen a lot of harmattans inside the Senate, we won't need to learn anything. But of course, what we are going to learn now for those of us in the PDP will be having to be in the opposition. So it's going to be learning curve for a little while for a whole lot of people who are coming to the Senate. But because we already have some institutional memory, for those of us who are left there, and so many people who know exactly what is going on, and of course you can go through the Hansard, you can go through the set things that are already there, and of course the management of the National Assembly that's already in place, and the Institute of Legislative Studies that is also in place. It means that the learning curve will be very, very short, and I'm very, very certain that we are going to hit the ground running.
Okay, well, thanks, Dr. Abdul Fatai, Senator-elect Oyo State. I wouldn't know whether, in your background, whether you are indeed a greenhorn with regards to lawmaking. And if so, what are your expectations in the upper chamber of the National Assembly?
Not a new person at the National Assembly. I was in the National Assembly from 2003 to 2007. Again, the present Senate, most of the senators, about 42 of us, are coming in from the House of Rep to the Senate. And we have, like you rightly said, about 30% of the former senator. It is your person. Within the shortest period of time, if you know what you are doing, there are only two things you need. You need a constitution, you need a house rule. If you are able to read them very well and grasp and know what you are, within the shortest period of time, you will grab it. In 1999, all the senators were new. All the House of members were new. Within the shortest period of time, they catch up. And from that 1999, I agree with one thing, that the culture of Nigeria removing the National Assembly member at every election is very, very bad. Take, for example, McCain, as of today, is already 28 years old in the U.S. Assembly, in the U.S. Parliament. Well, learning either the new senators or the new House of Rep member, it is your person that will determine what you really want to achieve. If you know your owners and you know what you are doing, within the shortest period of maximum 2-3 months, you will catch up. 2-3 months to learn in 4 years. If you really know what you are doing, you'll be able to contribute your own quota.
Back to, of course, our guest in Joe's studio. 2-3 months and you will catch up. General Temlong, I don't know what you think, but with over 70% of the old senators not returning to the 8th Assembly, and with majority of those who will be coming in not well grounded in the art of legislature, what's your thought about the democratic process of governance? Do you think it might be slowed down?
Well, thank you very much, Claire. I think it will be slowed down, definitely. It was because of this that at the National Confab we recommended that there should be midterm elections. You have a set of Senate will be in place after 2 years, election will be conducted. And so even if half of them do not come back, you have half of them already going there. So you still have institutional memory there. You have people who already know the. But a situation where you have about 70% of them coming in, definitely you're going to slow down the process. It will take them some time, just like the Senate President said, to find their way around, let alone knowing legislative duties and hit the ground running. I don't subscribe to the fact that it will just take them 3 months or so. Even if they are moving from the House to the Senate, the things in the Senate are quite different from the House. So I believe that we must look at that area of having midterm elections, which they have to look at it seriously and see if they can pass it. Look at the Confab report itself and see there are so many things there that will help in stabilizing the polity and allowing for continuity.
General Temblong, we'll return to the Abuja studios. You've raised issues that pertain to legislative agenda, and those are matters we'll deal with in the course of this conversation. Let's return now to Senator Abaribe. Senator Abaribe, the takeoff point for the 8th Assembly obviously would be the election of the leadership of the Assembly. Now, one clear point that we have seen with regard to the National Assembly is that perhaps, in the last 4 years, the era of banana peels is virtually over. With regard to the Senate, David Mark, distinguished senator, has been president for 8 years, very unusual, perhaps the longest serving Senate president in our country's history. Already in the media, there are reports of which zone gets what, which zone doesn't get what, and informed persons are also cautioning the majority party to say, hey, look, beware. This was what happened in the case of the Speaker of the House. The members went against the party, and then, of course, you had the antagonistic relationship. What are the issues to watch out for in choosing those who will shepherd the business as leaders of the National Assembly? The first among equals, that is to say.
Well, I think the basic issue will be the confidence of the members in whoever will come in as the Senate president. Now, the election of the Senate to the party that has produced a majority of the members. Of course, it will be limited to the party that has produced a majority if they had the 2/3 majority necessary. But what we have in the Senate right now is that we have about 60 or so members of the APC and 49 or so members of the PDP, and of course 1 or 2 other people. What that means is that no party can have the absolute majority, and therefore you have to cross over to the other party to ask them to help you make a choice. And the election of the Senate president is done on the floor on the first day of the inauguration. And once it's done on the first day of the inauguration, and it is by voting individually of all members. In that case, the opinion of each member now counts. And just like you had rightly said, we have evolved to the point where if a party makes the mistake of saying they are zoning it to somebody or to a zone, and there is no competent person or somebody who the rest of the members don't have confidence in, you may just have a Tambuwal situation. And that, of course, will not augur well for the party that will provide the executive power. Now, General Buhari was with us yesterday, sought for cooperation. Of course, seeking for cooperation means he's asking the rest of the members, please help us to be able to have a stable Senate and, of course, run a stable government. Usually, the relationship between the executive and the legislature is adversarial. It's never, and so you get cooperation when you also provide cooperation. So we're really going to have very, very interesting times. Right now, all manners of meetings are going on, and people are meeting in small caucuses. They're trying to meet the different zones and their caucuses, and everybody is trying to say, where is it going to go? We are still waiting for the party, the APC, that forms the majority, where they think. But if they say, okay, leave it for the Senate to make a choice, which I think should be the best thing that they will do, stay away from it, we will ultimately come out with the right type of leadership that has the confidence of the members.
Okay, just beyond the issue of leadership, one major pending bill, that may not be National Assembly, because we did, the members of the Assembly did promise that, for instance, the petroleum bill may be passed, but as it is now, that might not happen. What is likely to be the fate of this one in the 8th Assembly?
Well, the 7th Assembly hasn't ended, and we still have a few days to go, and I think that if we really want to pass it, because everything has been done, it's been laid and all that, and I think that there's still the possibility. So I cannot preempt the Senate. This is going to be done or this is not going to be done. A lot of people also thought that we were not going to pass the budget, but we passed. And right now we have the 2015 budget already passed. There's nothing that says that the PIB bill may not be passed.
Okay. Well, let's turn to Dr. Abdul Fatai, Senator-elect, of course, also in the House of Reps. So we're talking about, Senator Abaribe was talking about the election of the leadership. Now, what lessons do you think are there to learn from what we may now refer to as the Tambuwal experience in the choice of the leaders of the two chambers?
Well, our leaders of the party are aware about this problem. In fact, that is the reason why they are really taking their time. Between now and 29th of May, I'm sure the party may not say anything, because the real politicking and the election will start immediately after the swearing in. It's normally within 4 to 5 days before our own inauguration. Like Senator Abaribe said, party should be very, very careful in their decision, because when you enter that chamber, people have their own mind. People look for quality. Who can be first among equals? Who will be able to carry their colleagues around? Issue. Who will be a complete gentleman? There are a lot of other factors apart from the party decision. Then again, 60-49, PDP 49, APC 60 is too close. It's really, really close. They need to be very careful in their decision. So by the time they are choosing or saying that, look, we are zoning it to Southeast, at that time, the people from the Southeast will now come out. You will now be able to assess who is who among the people from the Southeast that the party is taking. I'm not saying they are taking it to Southeast. Oh, of course, we don't even have a senator from the Southeast. I'm just using it as an example. On the floor, it's always a different ball game. I remember when I was in the House of Rep, and then we were planning to choose our speaker then. 3 people were gunning for it in 2003. Farouk Lawa, Dr. Bugaji, Aminu Masari. On my honor, when I was going, by the time I was at the floor, you now see everybody that you are calling is saying Masari, Masari, Masari. Oh, this is dangerous. So it's the truth. I said, oh, this thing is dangerous. So almost all the floor, and then they did one thing again. When they were coming to the chamber that day, they were putting red band on their own hand. And by the time you go around, you now find out of the 360 member, almost on the red band. So what are you trying to do? The next, you have no choice than to quickly queue up. That's why I say on the floor, it's always a different ball when even the party have done. But the most important thing, the party will call all the people. They will call party caucuses, and they will let us know that this is the reason why we are saying this person, out of these 2, 3. And it's only better when you are able to give us a choice from the zone you are picking up, maybe 2 or 3. And then the people will now make up their mind, which any of the 2 or any of the 3 is qualified to be a very good leader. Allow the Senate or the House to decide who their leader is going to be.
Let me get back to Senator Abaribe. I know Kingsley will return to General Tim Long in Jos, but Senator Abaribe, the president-elect met with the members of the 8th National Assembly, and there he solicited the support of the members and indeed urged members to be warriors of change. You have just told us that the PDP now, of which platform you belong, will begin to learn the art of opposition. Is the president-elect likely to get this support?
Yes, as President of Nigeria, from the 29th of May, he will get the support of all Nigerians. As for the specific matter of the National Assembly, he will get the support dependent on how he decides to work with the National Assembly and history. Here, I will tell you, history has already told us. From '99, there was an attempt from the presidency to determine who becomes what in the National Assembly, and that was what led to what you refer to as the banana peel syndrome within that period. But from the time that the late Yaradua was elected and came, he left the National Assembly alone to make their decisions, and you could see that there was a better relation carried on by Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, our president presently. He never assure you of one thing: no member of this National Assembly will ever want to go back to the days. I'm not going to provide opposition, job of opposition. I've been talking with my colleagues from the PDP. The public know, and will put down the alternatives, and then Nigeria better than any other thing.
Okay, well, General Temlong at Just Network Center, you've listened to the as well as the reaction of the National Assembly going forward.
One thing is that they impose the leadership in the legislative.
Do not want to rush a bill where there are questions that are being asked. And of course, even most of the presidency days of dealing with the security situation, Nigerians tend to look at all. So, slow.
It has to do with this where in the world.
Committee for each that happens. I want now. Somebody has offense. He doesn't need more than one. Need that, and so a system that part of the country will take a cue from that.
All right, okay. Distinguished Senator Yunaya Abaribe would like to. He's a two-time senator, of course. Elect Abdul Fattah Buhari from
Buhari Abdul Fattah.
Buhari Abdul Fattah. All right, thanks for the correction, Kingsley, from Oyo North Senatorial District. We also like to thank both of you for coming on our program. But we'll still stay with you. General Temlong will be back in a moment after this short break.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are here discussing matters pertaining to the the incoming National Assembly. We have had two guests already. We still have with us retired General Temlong at our Just Network Center. But joining us now in the Abuja studios are two other guests. First, I would like to introduce distinguished Senator Abubakar Sodengib, as a former senator representing one of the districts in Nasarawa State. Senator Sodengib, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, my brother and sister.
Okay, and then we also have with us Honorable Al-Hassan Ado Doguwa, his chairman, House Committee on MDGs. Honorable, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to our program. And of course, let me start with the former senator, Senator Sudangi. Earlier on, we asked the other senators here, that came on, what impact, when you have 70% of members of the assembly not returning, and you have majority being, people that are not quite well grounded in the art of legislature, what impact do you think that will have on the democratic process?
I want to thank you for inviting me, and I thank you for this very important question. It's a big manners, very big manners to the democracy, very big manners to Nigerian economy, because it takes a lot to educate and also train a legislator, whether you're a graduate of law, as a lawyer, a historian, whatever calling. Legislative work is a different ballgame entirely, and once you learn it, you keep on demonstrating that to the benefit of not only the members of the National Assembly but the entire nation. And the system whereby at every given year you bring in new hands for whatever political or calculation, if I may call it even miscalculation and waste, is definitely a waste. You have to learn the rope, not only learning the rope, even how you don't know what is called a bill, what is a motion, how do you move the motion, how do you interact with your colleagues, what is the interest of your party vis-a-vis the interest of the nation. Of course, it goes beyond even that. How do you interact with other world democrats? For instance, in Nigeria here, we have what we call ECOWAS Parliament, that is the 16th sub-region have a parliamentarian, and some of us are always co-opted there. How do you go and interact with them? African Parliament, Commonwealth Parliament, you have all been taught this thing. Just because of political collection, I don't want this man to come, is this his father's inheritance? You learn from the beginning. It's a waste. How to even handle the most fundamentals in the budget, I mean, in the legislative with the budget. You don't even know how to tackle this thing. By and large, the other area, committee works, which is maybe you'll be privileged to chair a committee or finance or water or FCT. You don't even know how to go before, or those people to appear before you, defend their budget, monitor the system, follow the budget for the benefit of the people. So it's a waste. To me, with due respect, it doesn't add anything. Like now, they have
It's a Herculean task.
It's a Herculean task, because whether they like it or not, they have to take one or more than a year before they land. I understand some are saying they are coming from the house. Yeah, those coming from the house may have some leverage, advantage, but it's a different again as far as the Senate assignment is concerned. You pass the budget, you pass the ministerial list, ambassadorial list, a lot of things. You have to learn them. They are there. But you say just go. It's a terribly waste to me, with due respect.
Okay, let's go to Rep. Al Hassan Doguwa. You've just listened to Senator Sudangi, outlined what he thinks the concerns about having too many greenhorns, at all times that you're having a new assembly. What's your reaction to this, and what do you think can hasten the learning curve?
I think my take on this will be a little different from the way my elder brother has seen it. It may be a little difficult for me to really reverse the trend, because the fact is that the general perception is that high turnover in the legislature is an adverse development. But I would like viewers and other people alike to look at it from a more proactive point of view, the way I look at it. People look at it, except for the cost. Maybe the funds we require economically to train and retrain new members. Except for this point, I do not see anything too bad about this kind of the turnover development, because the fact is that you have to look at other members coming in as new members, not only from the point of view of the cost that we bear to train them, but look at them from the point of view of a new set of Nigerians coming into a new platform with new ideas. I want to tell you, without any cause for undermining any other person's view, that I can tell you so many other members that have come newly, and they are doing by far better than old horns on the floor of the House of Representatives. So I want Nigerians and any other person alike to look at it from this proactive point of view. A perspective where you now have new set of people on board, you expect that they are coming with new ideas. I understand world over, you look at it as if you need to sustain the membership of the parliament in the legislature so that you can be able to consolidate on earlier made gains. But for me, I still look at it as a welcome development, and you can never take it away from Nigerians, this trend or this culture of inherent culture for change. There is this need for change, and it is what is bringing about this high turnover in the National Assembly. Only that I hope maybe when you have new members may have that respect for ranking members, perhaps to be able to catch up. The basic things we need to know on the floor of the House or the Senate, as the case may be, are our basic rules. And the knowledge of our Constitution or our House rules are so rudimentary that within a couple of days, someone can master them and still forge ahead. Like I said, I can tell you so many members that I knew on the floor of the House who are doing by far better than a lot of old members. That I'm saying without any grievance to old members. For me, I'm an old member too. I've been on the floor of the House of Representatives far back as 1992. And this, I'm serving my 4th term in the House of Representatives. So I'm not doing that with any point of undermining maybe the perception of having all other members continuing to serve on the floor of the House. But I look at it from the point of view of change. And that change brings about so many other people with a lot of ideas. Let me just share with you now. In my recent interaction, a new set of members we have, perhaps in the ongoing induction course, I have seen in the creed of these new members a lot of zeal to make sacrifice. One of the serious challenges we face in the recent assemblies, especially the 6th and the 5th assembly, is about lack of reputation in the face of the people. We have lost this reputation. Sorry to say that, but that is what it is. We have to take it. And based on my interaction with the few new members we now have on board, I have seen that commitment. I have seen that zeal in them trying to make a lot of sacrifice so that the institution of the House of Representatives could now wear a new look. And we have to get out to really support that. We have to stand out to make sure that we give the new House of Representatives, the 8th House of Representatives, a new look so that we can entrench that culture of reputation, moral conduct, and in fact, we need to even improve the kind of confidence people have on us. We have lost so many things, and one has to take it the way it is. I want to assure you that the turnover may have its own backlogs, the turnover may have its own problem, but I want to tell you, if you look at it from this other point of view, it's a welcome development. For economic reasons, training and retraining members, we find a way of really accommodating that. But I see it being proactive, because naturally our political culture in Nigeria is about an inherent culture for change, and that you cannot dispute.
Okay, well, Representative, thank you for the outlines that you've given. But just one point before we go over to retired General Temblong at our Just Network Center. The point was made earlier by one of our two guests that what a lawmaker needs is the Constitution and also the rules of the particular house. I'm just wondering, you don't need knowledge of the country, you don't need specialized knowledge. That's the point you may wish to respond to in the course of this conversation. I believe that you require some specialized knowledge rather than just core knowledge of the rules and the Constitution. Now, General Temblong, let's come back to you at the Just Network Center. Claire was going to ask a question of that. Yes.
Yeah, General, the composition of the 8th Assembly, you'll discover again that in the majority will be ex-governors who, of course, may have some, experience in the art of legislature. Would you consider the experience value added to this National Assembly?
Well, at the fear of not having an all-governors club moving into the National Assembly, I think the experience, yes, is good, but they might come in with some warped idea of the way they have been running their states. It is. If you look at the state assemblies, they are just appendages of government houses in the states. So if they go in there with that sort of mentality, it's going to be a problem. However, I think what we need is continuity and change and building strong institutions. Because if you have strong institutions, then they can be able to withstand even tyrants or weaklings. What the honorable member was saying, I'm afraid, if you are talking about the cost already, we're trying to talk about lean government. And so if you are going to spend so much money on training and retraining, you are not building institutions, you are only building the human beings whom you are going to send out. So I think it doesn't pass that test, it doesn't pass that litmus test. What you need is people who should be, the ideas come out from outside. The legislators do not know everything. That's why they have legislative aids. They go back to their constituency. There are special people who carry out researches for them. But if they want to believe on their own knowledge alone, or people coming with zeal, then it's wrong. If those institutions are strong enough, they should be able to purge legislators who are not acting according to their calling. They should be able to purge legislators who are corrupt. They should be able to purge legislators who behave unbecoming or who are not even passive, active in the House. But then if you allow the institution to be weak, and then you continue turning out people, churning them, you're only doing that at the expense of the institution. And so that means the National Assembly, as it is now, cannot carry out its functions effectively because of the enormous, huge turnover of legislators that we have every time. I think we need to look at that and build a strong National Assembly that will stand an executive that will either be weak or overbearing.
Temblok, thank you. Let's return to Senator Abubakar Sodengi with us here in the Abuja studios. Clearly, what is coming up with the 8th National Assembly is what you refer to as a hung parliament, in the sense that the APC, which has won the majority, doesn't have a working majority, as it were. How much of a challenge is this likely to be for the proper functioning, not just of the executive, so not just of the legislature, but for the executive, to push through the legislature its proposals?
It means a lot. It's a big challenge to the incoming president-elect. He has to be a real Democrat. He has to learn the act of law. His legislative aid at the National Assembly has a lot of work to do, even in passing an ordinary bill, which is very important. Whether it is a budgetary bill, that's a monetary bill, whether it is another amendment or whatever it is, he has to lobby to get it passed. And it's not an easy thing. And like one of the speakers said earlier, I hope they will not be hard on his own member that this must be passed because they don't have that majority. So if he wants anything to be passed, he must get not less than 73 members of the Senate in particular, and of course it's the same thing if he goes to the House of Representatives. So in democracy itself, the act of lobbying is allowed. I believe it's not a question of taking the money to the National Assembly like people have been accusing. No, but lobby. This is the pros and cons. These are the international interest that we have this bill to be passed or the budget. One thing that may likely can, let me give you an example. For instance, the budget that just passed, 2015 budget. Certainly the incoming government, being a new government, a new party, he has a different concept of vision and missionary. He would just, after assuming office maybe 1 or 2 months, he must present another supplementary budget or whatever you call it. He needs people to support him and reason with him. I have come with a notion of change, positive change to serve Nigerians. Look at our limb resources, the budget that have been passed is bloated. I need this and that. Reason with me. He will not do that only limited to his members of the senators who are only 60. He must go to the members of the PDP and other people who will agree with him and then maybe pass his supplementary budget as quickly as they can because time waits for nobody. So I believe it's an act of lobbying. And in that, like I said, his legislative aides in the House of Representatives and the senators, and indeed his minister, every other person, and indeed Nigerian, and understanding of Nigerian, apart from the Mr. President understanding the situation, the legislator understanding, everybody is what we call collaborative cooperation and moving the country forward. It does not rest with the executive, and he can't be so undemocratic. Say, you must do this. Neither will the Senate or the members of the National Assembly should forget about the fact that they are representing the interests of Nigerians collectively. So they must be very objective in supporting the government of the day, not supporting their own interest like you have tried to hammer it, but the interest of Nigerians. I believe they will move forward.
Okay, Honorable Dogowa, you have been quite experienced, as you said much earlier on. But it's been alleged that proper oversight functions, were not carried out by the 7th National Assembly, and that probably affected budget implementation. In this new assembly, we're likely to see a more robust oversight functions.
Yes, I think you are entitled to your opinion, like you have asserted, but I don't know to what extent you rated that the 7th Assembly has not had proper oversight. There are some fundamental things that we must have to accept. A lot of challenges that we have passed through in the 7th Assembly, but one thing that we must have to admit is that the 7th Assembly is one exceptional assembly, especially in the House of Representatives, where in the first place, members in the House were able to establish an independent leadership. A leadership led by an indefatigable person, a leadership led by a person in whom we have absolute confidence. And this has been proved because up till now, you've never experienced or witnessed any case of banana peel on the floor of the House of Representatives. So for that House of Representatives to have been able to establish that independent leadership led by Honorable Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, I would like to tell you that we were operating under an exclusive legislative framework. An exclusive legislative framework in the sense that the key legislative agenda under Aminu Waziri Tambuwal was about participatory legislation. It was about transparency.
Let's look forward. We're looking forward. Sorry, Adodogowa. We're looking at the 8th National Assembly right now. We want you to tell us how the oversight functions will be performed. Are you stepping it up? Are we likely to see a stepping up?
Yes, we should expect a step up, but in the first place, I would like to tell you that I disagree with you that the oversight function we had in the 7th Assembly was on the low side. We did what we were supposed to do based on the challenges we faced. We had a lot of challenges. Sometimes you find problems here and there on the basis of relationship between committees and agencies we oversight. And for that reason, and some of those things were bordering on morality questions, reputation, which were having a lot of reflections on the institutional integrity of the House of Representatives. And for that reason, the leadership of the House and those of us who have been old horns on the floor of the House decided to do much more less of that. We have been doing our oversights not necessarily by going out on the field to oversight ministries in their offices or going out to really see what is happening practically on sites as per projects and other things, but we invited to a greater extent members of the executive who oversee and implement government programs to the National Assembly, to the House, through what you call public hearings, through committee meetings. I admit that everyone is entitled to his opinion. You can maybe rate us that low, but my expectation is that, like I've just said, we will be able to step out, strengthen and consolidate on the gains we have made so far. But one thing you must not dispute, one thing you must have to be ready to agree and accept is that we have all agreed that there is an agenda already set by the outgoing 7th Assembly. And whatever is coming in is going to be a build-up, is going to be a consolidation on what we have already started. Where we need to step up, obviously we will do that. And where we need to continue in the manner we have started with a view to safeguarding our integrity and the institutional reputation of the House of Representatives, we cannot be distracted.
Okay, question to you, because Kingsley will take the questions for the two other guests. What areas of legislation do you think should attract the attention of the National Assembly, the 8th National Assembly?
I may not even be able to preempt what will be the necessary areas that will attract the attention of the 8th Assembly. But basically, based on the circumstance we find ourselves, we are now coming from a background of change. We are now going to work with a new person who is known for so many critical perceptions or understanding of how governance should be. Right? In the first place, the new president, or the president-elect Muhammadu Buhari, has come in with an agenda that is also in tandem with the agenda and the party policy of the APC, which is the new party to rule this country by 29th May. Then whether we like it or not, an agenda is already set. Agenda for prudence, agenda for integrity, agenda for the respect of rule of law. Like he has rightly said yesterday, he was urging members of the 8th Assembly to cooperate and extend hands of fellowship to his own new government so that we can be able to make a greater Nigeria. And from that point of view, I want to believe the president has set an agenda, and those of us in the House of Representatives, especially members of my own party, whom we have successfully established a comfortable majority, we will give that to Buhari, because by what he did yesterday, he has confirmed to the nation that this is going to be a democratic Buhari, a new Buhari, and we are all out to work hand in hand with him so that at the end of the day, we deliver a new Nigeria that will be based or will be expected to operate within the ambits of the rule of law. Interaction between the executive and the legislature will be friendly so as to be able to deliver the good desirable by our own people.
Well, Honorable Al Hassan Doguwa, we would like to thank you for your contributions to the program this morning, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And we also had here with us Senator Sodangi. You're still with us. Before we wrap up, very quickly, we're pressed for time now. A lot is being said about prudence. A lot is being said about the cost of governance, and so on and so forth. Again, Nigerians are concerned about the high number of committees. Sometimes I don't know how many committees there are. I mean, I didn't bother about that figure before coming onto the program this morning. But of course, the figures are ascertainable, and you have cross membership of these committees, which are huge cost centers for the Nigerian public. What can we do to slash drastically the number of committees in the National Assembly? Very quickly.
Thank you very much. Yes, the vogue now is that we should reduce cost of governance, which cut across not only the executive, even the legislators. The Senate that I served 3 times, I believe, has about more than 60, 70 subcommittees. Of course, the working of the National Assembly generally is done at the committee level, whichever house. Public hearing is conducted, interact with the ministries and the department of agencies, public hearing and the rest of them. But notwithstanding, I believe if they are reducing the number of committees so that they can have a fewer number of the committees to run the National Assembly activities, I believe the leadership will be at liberty to do that. As they are reducing their costs, maybe their personal costs, committees costs, other costs, I believe they will look at that. The objectivity is to have a good governance. Good governance, reduce the cost, and I believe they will be ready to queue in to this end, provided if they are doing it, the executive should do the same thing. And like my colleague, my junior Ado said, I believe the Buhari would like to reduce every other cost so that Nigerian will benefit more than any other participant of government to add more than what he is expected. And I believe by what we are expecting, the members of the National Assembly, Senate in particular, who are fine gentlemen, wouldn't mind to reduce the cost of their service delivery to Nigerians, and they can do that, I believe. Okay,
Senator Abubakar Sodangi, representing Nasarawa State, thank you for coming on the program today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, and at this time as well, we also like to appreciate retired General Temlong, who joined us from the Just Network Center. General Temlong, thank you for your opinion.
You're welcome, Kingsley and Claire.
All right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. We are moving on now to our companion segments, and here is Musbah Adan Wahab with details from that segment.
Okay, welcome here. Let's talk sport now, and we'll begin with the official draw ceremony for this year's Men and Women's Federation Cup competitions, which will be held in Abuja today. The Nigeria Football Federation, NFF's head of Federation Cup unit, Ruth David, reminded the 36 states and FCT football associations that the draw ceremony will commence at 1 p.m. Already, all 64 teams for the men's draw and 18 teams for the women's have emerged, setting the stage for the events that will herald the national finals of the most prestigious football competition in the country. David has also disclosed that of the 64 teams in the men's draw, 19 are Nigeria Professional Football League MPFL sides, while Warri Wolves are the only top-flight side that missed the court to Ghost Time FC in the Delta State preliminaries. 14 are from the second-tier Nigerian National League, 16 teams belong to the Nigerian Nationwide League, and an impressive 15 are non-league sides. The two teams that reached the final of the preliminaries in each state and the FCT have been considered, except Yobe State that failed to register any club for the competition. Of the remaining 72 clubs, 8 were eliminated in last Tuesday's playoff round. Bayern Munich Champions League hopes suffered a major blow Wednesday when it was confirmed that star winger Arjen Robben will miss the rest of the season with a calf problem, while striker Robert Lewandowski is also facing a spell on the sidelines. Both players were injured during Bayern's DFB Pokal penalty shootout defeat to Borussia Dortmund. Robben limping off just 16 minutes into a comeback from the abdominal injury which kept him out for 5 weeks, while Lewandowski sustained a broken jaw and nose after being clattered by visiting goalkeeper Michelin Garek. Bayern boss Pep Guardiola confirmed after the final whistle that Robben had suffered a calf injury. And on Wednesday, Tiger Woods announced his schedule through early August, and it includes appearances in the US Open and Open Championship. Woods previously announced that he will play in next week's The Players' Championship, an event he won the second time when he last played there in 2013. The 14-major winner confirmed that Jack Nicklaus revealed this week at a charity luncheon that Wood will play in his memorial tournament based on a conversation the two had on the Masters. And that's it from the world of sports. This morning, the program continues in just a moment.
Good morning. It's good to have you again on today's weather forecast. This morning, the northern region is expected to be sunny and dry, while partly cloudy to cloudy conditions are expected over the central states to the coastal cities. And as the day progresses into the afternoon and evening hours, the north is expected to remain sunny and dry, while thunderstorms are likely over the coast and the inland of the southwest. Thundery activities over Abuja and Mina axis, while the other parts of the country remains partly cloudy to cloudy. And for the maximum temperature forecast, do stand by. And this is the weather forecast from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. Thank you.
Thank you too, Imara Joyce and Chom, a weather woman from the Weather Center. And that rounds off Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Claire Delabu Abdul Razak. We look forward to having you join us again tomorrow morning.
And that will be at 7 o'clock when the program returns. Now, wishing you a lovely day. My name is Kingsley Osadolo.